Hello, my name is Alex Nasser, and today I will be talking about analyzing relationships between poverty, access to parks, and tree canopy in the Twin Cities metro. I'm going to start off with some background information on my analysis. First, I looked at a journal article talking about the idea of biophilia entitled Biophilic Cities Are Sustainable, Resilient Cities by Timothy Beatley and Peter Newman. The word biophilia was popularized by E.O. Wilson and basically describes the innate affiliation with living organisms that us humans have. The article goes on to talk about how biophilia and green spaces in cities can improve mental and physical health. When urban designers actively engage cities and buildings to incorporate natural daylight, fresh air, and greenery, this can have positive effects on citizens as well as build the resilience of the ecosystem services that nature provides in urban settings. In this next article, Abigail Kimball and her team of researchers looked at more kids in the woods. She outlined an issue with current society called nature deficit disorder. This basic idea states that children lack a sense of nature in their daily lives. This is impeded by TV, video games, and electronics. By spending more time indoors, this is correlated, not caused, with obesity. The U.S. Forest Service is actively trying to change that by focusing their efforts on children to enact programs that pairs children with nature. Nature can have positive health benefits for all, and if we teach young children these basic ideas, we can build them to be future conservationists. This next article took the issue of nature deficit disorder even further. It started off by addressing the large population shift from rural to urban areas. This results in fewer natural spaces and more cars. What this study did was place 40 young adults in a nature camp in the woods. They measured pre- and post-camp nature awareness via a questionnaire. The results revealed that perceived stress decreased, relaxation increased, and overall individuals felt more connected with nature. All values were statistically significant. The Trust for Public Land outlined 8 ways that parks improve your health. These ways were 1. Physical activity, 2. Breaking a sweat, 3. Better mental health, 4. Aesthetic value of parks, 5. Amenities of parks, 6. Trust for Public Land fitness zones, 7. Team sports, clubs, and groups, and 8. Exercise can overall improve your health. The Trust for Public Land also has a proxy for measuring park score of the major U.S. cities. Park score is calculated via acreage, facilities and investment, and access to parks. Amazingly, the top 2 cities in the U.S. for park score are Minneapolis and St. Paul. The best parks in the United States are right here in our own backyard, which gives us the perfect study area for my level of analysis in this research. However, park access is not equal for all to enjoy. Leticia Moore and her team of researchers looked at the availability of recreational resources in minority and low socioeconomic status areas. They found that access to park resources is not equal for minorities. Minorities were identified as non-Hispanic Black, Hispanic, lower education, and lower wealth individuals. They also found that there are less physically active, and location can also affect this difference. The results included that more free parks and less fee-related recreational facilities are found in minority areas. Their recommendations look at increasing opportunities for all by way of policy. Physical activity and increase in health relies on accessibility to all park resources. This graph shows the results of the study. Park resources and facility resources were inversely found in poorer neighborhoods. Notice that all values were statistically significant. Is bigger really better? These articles support the claim that larger parks are better for urban settings. Larger parks are able to be used by more citizens and also confer better ecosystem services. This brings us to my area of analysis for this research. A vulnerability model and map will be created where more vulnerable and least vulnerable areas will be selected out. In these selected areas, I will assess environmental quality based on access to parks and tree canopy cover to see if there is a variation. This will help us identify areas of most concern, that is defined as areas that are more vulnerable and of low environmental quality. Here's my model for this research. I used 2010 census data and 2016 ACS block group data. Notice also how I added median age twice into the raster calculator for my vulnerability model. This is the map associated with the vulnerability model, with areas of most vulnerable being highlighted in black. I will use these areas coming up in my analysis. In this map, parks, recreation, or preserves are highlighted in green. From the 2016 generalized land use data, I was able to select out these parks, recreation, and preserve areas, and through Euclidean distance, I was able to see that distance that children are away from parks. The red areas are where children are furthest from the park. Using the TCMA tree canopy layer and through reclassifying focal statistics, I was able to create this map. Environmental amenities at 0.5 kilometers means that looking outside your back window, how far are you looking before you see a nature area? Nature area are the parks, recreation, and preserves that we saw a map of earlier. The green areas are where this 0.5 kilometer measure is found. Next, I used the 2016 generalized land use data, and through feature to raster and cost distance, I created a map that shows cost distance from large parks over 177,000 square meters, which was the average size of nature areas in the 7-county metro. This map shows how hard it is to move across the landscape to access large parks, with green being easier to access. Large parks were selected out due to being better proxy of increasing health of citizens. Larger parks are also able to increase ecosystem services such as carbon sequestration and flood mitigation. My level of analysis looks at the variation of environmental quality. Environmental quality is defined as tree canopy and access to parks. This shows how I use zonal statistics to create two final maps of mean value of least and most vulnerable areas. The most and least vulnerable selections were according to my vulnerability map and model. Most vulnerable is highlighted in black and least vulnerable is highlighted in white. Vulnerability is shown behind the map again, with black or red being the highest relative vulnerable areas. Parks and Trees amenities was created by reclassifying and overlaying the large parks cost distance and environmental qualities at 0.5 kilometers. These two maps were used earlier in the presentation. My final map consists of the mean amenity value of the least and most vulnerable areas according to zonal statistics. Higher numbers are better, and we actually can see that less vulnerable areas do actually see a better environmental quality according to access to parks and tree cover. The findings of this research provided the fact that the least vulnerable areas have higher environmental quality and the more vulnerable areas have lower environmental quality. Conservation in these more vulnerable areas can look at increasing the environmental quality of them. Some of these more vulnerable areas include Frogtown, South Minneapolis, and the Payne-Phelan neighborhoods. Future research can also look at ways to identify the linkages between parks, most notably through a tool called Linkage Mapper. Previous research in Linkage Mapper has been done to link study areas of these together, and the same application can be used in linking parks together. These are the works that I've cited throughout my research. And the data layers that I used. Thank you for your time.